Was Jill running the White House?
Look, she was certainly involved because he gave her the last meeting to preside over with the cabinet meeting.
Was she the auto pen?
No, I don't think so. She was. They had a lot of bad people. They had a lot of radical left lunatics in there, and I think he was perfect. He was perfect for them because he didn't have a clue.
Glenn, I think that probably goes without saying. If you have traffic tickets, you get deported to an El Salvadorian gulag with no due process. Is it in the law, I assume?
Yeah, Steph, 15 words for J.D. Vance. None of them are cuss words. Yeah. It's that no person shall deprive of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. And this clown, J.D. Vance, says, well, this guy had some traffic tickets. He also had a federal judge order that he shall not be deported to El Salvador. And J.D. Vance says, we don't care about the constitutional guarantees. We don't care about judicial orders saying we can't do this. We're going to do it anyway. Well, you know what? Contempt of court sport. There's 3 more words for you.
Yeah. Well, let me, Glenn, to your point, so people understand. The former immigration lawyer said Vance is badly wrong here. In 2019, a police informant alleged the guy was in MS-13. He spent a year in ICE detention as a result and then won his case. He's been out for the last 5 years, married to a U.S. citizen, has 2 kids, and still has no criminal record at all. And as you were saying, a judge granted him protected status in the U.S. as his citizenship application was processed, meaning he could not be sent back to El Salvador for fear of retribution. The Trump administration continues to claim he has ties to MS-13. He was fleeing MS-13, it sounds like, right?
He was. The reporting and the court filings indicate that gangs were threatening his life and trying to extort his parents. So he fled El Salvador, sought asylum here, got a court order preventing him from being returned, deported to El Salvador. But, look, I have a piece going up on Substack today, Steph, and it's crime is on the rise in the Oval Office. Trump and company are running the executive branch of our federal government like a mob organization, like a criminal enterprise. And we've got to take this head on because you're not going to see this in mainstream corporate and legacy media.
Yeah. By the way, so here we are. Judge James Boasberg suggested he believes it's likely the Trump administration defied his court order blocking the deportation flights and acted in bad faith by sending Venezuelan immigrants to El Salvador as the judge considers whether to possibly move forward with holding Trump officials in contempt. The judge accused Trump officials of intentionally rushing to get planes out of the country before a judge could act. Well, obviously.
Right.
But so now what at this point in our constitutional crisis, right? What happens?
So now what is a good question, but I don't want to skip over what Judge Boasberg said and did yesterday, because here's some of what he said and did. He told these Trump administration lawyers, these dirty DOJ lawyers, that the Trump administration, quote, acted in bad faith. He said, if you really believe that everything you did that day was legal and would survive a court challenge, you wouldn't have operated the way you did. And then he said, I need the names, the identities of all of the government officials who had anything to do with this unconstitutional deportation. And next stop, contempt. So what does that look like? Well, there's civil contempt and criminal contempt, but in its most extreme, criminal contempt looks like, interestingly, the due process rights that the administration deprived the Venezuelan immigrants of before stuffing them in a plane and sending them to a prison in El Salvador. Those rights are notice and opportunity to attend. The good news is every Trump administration official will now be given their due process rights of notice and opportunity to attend. And then there's going to be a contempt hearing in Judge Boasberg's courtroom. And boy, get ready, get your popcorn for that one.
Yeah. I mean, Glenn, I think what's astounding is you go, we might only get the rule of law back because he's imploding the economy. His approval rating now went to 30%. Approve of his handling of bringing prices down, 60% disapprove. The global markets are imploding. And so somebody was saying, I can't remember on Twitter or somewhere, just so one guy can implode the global economy and nobody can stop him. I mean, I don't know if this is what makes Republicans finally get their spine, is that he's going to pull their entire party down with this entire country.
Yeah, first he was imploding the legal community by issuing these unconstitutional executive orders punishing law firms. What happened? Some law firms caved, and what did they do? Steph, they came into the Oval Office, pledged $40 million in legal services, $100 million in legal services. This is a shakedown operation.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is like sending a wise guy to a mom and pop store and say, you know, you're going to need to pay me some protection money because it would be a shame if your bodega got firebombed, but I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen. Now, what is he doing, Steph? He's doing the same thing to the business community, right? Tariffs, tariffs, tariffs. And what's going to happen? These businesses, companies, corporations, manufacturing firms are going to come to him on bended knee and say, please, dear leader, don't punish us. We will do for you. This is him sort of getting everyone to pledge loyalty to avoid being punished, being penalized, being financially decimated. This is the game he seems to be playing. Will the Republicans in Congress ever stand up to it? I don't know. I don't think I'd bet on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, unless they look at Wisconsin and go, you know what, even Elon Musk can't buy you, out of this wrath of the voters. I don't know. It is. I feel like some of these law firms, as you point out, are standing up and suing him instead. But Glenn, I say it every day. If everybody would stop bending the knee, he would be powerless. In America, personal religious beliefs should be just that, personal. But today, Christian nationalism is on the rise, threatening separation of church and state. Laws are being passed based on religious doctrine instead of reason, eroding our rights and freedoms in legislatures, public schools, even in courtrooms. One set of religious beliefs is being forced onto everyone else, but that's not what our founders intended. The Freedom from Religion Foundation is fighting back as the nation's leading group of free thinkers working to keep religion out of government. FFRF protects your right to think for yourself, whether you've always been secular, left religion behind, or simply believe in true religious freedom for everyone. If we don't stand up now, we may lose our religious freedoms. Join FFRF in defending our secular constitution and keeping faith a personal choice, not a government mandate. Visit ffrf.us/freedom to learn more, become a member, or text my last name Miller to 511-511, because in a truly free country, no one's faith should dictate everyone's future. Text Miller to 511-511 today.